After posting the first episode in this, well, now series, I guess, y'all's response made it clear that I needed to make more of them. And I think it was received so well because it confirmed something that I've been seeing in the credit card game for years. Even smart, intentional credit card users are wasting tons of money on credit cards. Whether it's chasing the wrong perks, holding on to cards that no longer fit your lifestyle, or missing out on massive earning potential, these mistakes can burn through your wallet quick. So today, I'll be reviewing 4 more of my channel members' credit card setups, and I'll have some takeaways that apply to you even if your setup looks completely different. Now let's jump into setup number 1. As an outline for y'all, Bianca has been a channel member for quite some time, which I'm super appreciative of. And although her oldest credit card was opened back in 2014, she's only been actively in the credit card game since around 2021. Her setup is very similar to mine in the sense that she targets transferable currency cards from all the major issuers like Chase, Amex, Citi, Capital One, and Bilt. But going forward, she noted that she mainly wants to focus on Chase, Amex, and Citi, so I'll keep that in mind for her future card recommendations. On top of those transferable currencies, she also has access to specific hotels and airlines that she frequents the most, like Hilton, American Airlines, and Alaska. As for her travel habits, she takes 5 to 7 domestic and 1 big international trip per year. So that's exactly why she has so many cards to her name, 19 to be exact. In order to travel as much as she does on points, welcome offers are the name of the game. As it comes to her overall application velocity, she's currently at 424 within Chase's 524 rule if we only count 2024 and 2025 cards, but up to 724 if we count the 2023 cards. I just don't have the exact dates in which she applied, so I can't say for sure. But the fact that she's kept her 524 status as low as she has with the amount of cards that she's been approved for is a testament to her willingness to apply for business credit cards, which is practically essential if you want to do what she does. At first glance of her setup, you're going to see a dang Christmas tree of colors here in the next steps column. And if that's a bit overwhelming to you, good. It kind of should be. There is a ton of possibility to reduce her overall annual fee burden, and honestly, that's kind of the theme for this whole video, so let's dive deep into it. Out of her 19 credit cards, 12 of them have annual fees on them, and I know some of y'all may find that to be crazy, but remember that annual fees at face value are not what we're concerned with. It's really the effective annual fees that we care about. For example, on a card like the Amex Gold, which she has, you're going to pay $325 per year to keep that card alive. But if you naturally use the $120 worth of Uber Cash, $120 worth of dining, $100 worth of Resi, and $84 worth of Dunkin' Donuts credits annually, your effective annual fee is negative $99 without even taking into account any of the points earned. Just be careful here though, because one of the biggest lies that we tell ourselves in the credit card game is that we do get natural value from certain credits and benefits when in reality, we never would have shopped with those companies before having the card. And if that's the case, then you're by no means getting positive value from those credits. Sticking with the Amex Gold example here, for most people, the Savor Rewards credit card from Capital One is probably the better option because even though it only gives you 3x back on dining and groceries, which the Amex Gold gives you 4x back on, it has no annual fee compared to the Amex Gold's $325 annual fee. So the fact that you don't have to scrape back value before you even break even on the card makes it better for the majority of credit card users. And the fact that she already has the Savor Rewards in her setup is exactly why I listed the Amex Gold as questionable. But of course, I'm making a lot of assumptions in this video. It's the only way I could even make it in the first place. And if for some reason the Amex Gold really does make sense for her, she doesn't have to close it at all. Out of her other annual fee cards, there are 2 that are extremely easy to get positive value from, in my opinion, like the Navy Federal Credit Union flagship card that gives you a free Amazon Prime subscription every year just for paying $49 on the annual fee of the card, or the Citi Strata Premier if you're somebody that wants access to Citi's transfer partners for a low cost of just $95. But other than that, all of her other annual fee cards are ones that I would either heavily question or immediately cancel when they next renew. First off, the ones that I probably wouldn't even bat an eye at closing are the Amex Green, Hilton Business, and Amex Business Gold cards. Not only does she have other cards in her setup that earn better than these, but the benefits of them overlap with those cards as well, so they're pretty redundant. Like for example, she has Hilton Gold status on her Amex Platinum card, as well as the Hilton Business card, and with the Hilton Business card not offering much else in return, to me that's an easy cancel and an easy way to save $195 per year. So really, with all 3 of these cards, I'm assuming she got them mainly for the welcome offer in year 1 and then maybe just accidentally left them open past that point, and that's quintessential wasted money. The one reason I would worry a bit about canceling all of these cards at once is because they're all Amex cards and she'd almost assuredly get thrown in pop-up jail for doing so. But personally, I'd much rather be in pop-up jail than waste $720 per year in annual fees on cards that really don't offer me a ton, especially if I already had 4 other Amex cards in my arsenal that may keep me out of pop-up jail like she does. As for the cards that are more questionable than immediate cancels, we'll start with the lower annual fee ones, those being the Alaska, American Airlines, and Venture cards. Since they do have those lower annual fees, it's pretty easy to justify each of them with just one of the benefits they offer, like free checked bags on the airline cards, for example. But to me, the Venture card seems to be the one that's kind of like in no man's land, unless she for some reason uses it as a 2x catch-all card over her Blue Business Plus or Citi Double Cash for some reason. So if I were her, I'd probably downgrade that to the Venture One card, because with that card, you still have access to Capital One's transfer partners, and she can use all of the cash back earned on her Saver Rewards card transferred to this one to access those partners. No matter what credit cards you have, an easy way to stop leaving money on the table is through Max Rewards and its automatic offer activation feature. With Max Rewards Gold, their paid tier, all of your cards linked to the app will have their offers automatically activated for them, so you don't have to go into each lender's app individually to click the little plus icons next to each offer. Last year alone, this feature saved me more than $100 without me changing my spending habits at all, and that easily covered the cost of Max Rewards Gold. And if I was to actually put in a little bit of effort and just see what offers were activated on each of my cards, I could have saved much more than this. As people who obviously love to get the highest return on spend possible, using those offers is a secretive way to get a lot more value than you're getting right now. And the fact that Max Rewards Gold helps you do this in the background is huge. Of course, Max Rewards has plenty of free features as well, though. A couple of my favorite being the best card tool that tells you exactly what card to use depending on where you're shopping, as well as their offer trackers, whether that be for welcome offers, retention offers, or what have you. But what I use more than anything else is just the home screen, because all of my cards from each lender are synced to the app, and it tells me things like my total point balances, card balances, bill due dates, and more. Like I mentioned multiple times recently, I'm notorious for hoarding points, and I want to be better at that. So using Max Rewards, I can see when my point balances are getting too high and it's time to redeem. So if you want to get a better handle on your credit card setup and stop leaving money on the table, I'd highly recommend you check out Max Rewards through the link in my description. And during the sign-up process, if you enter the promo code Spencer, you'll get a 1-month discount off of your annual Max Rewards Gold subscription if you ever do decide to upgrade. Big thanks to Max Rewards for sponsoring this video. As always, let's get back into the content. Now, those are simple enough, but where we really need to focus our attention are on her high annual fee cards. I just really don't see a reason why anybody would need 4 high annual fee premium travel cards like Bianca does. On the transferable currency side, she has the Chase Sapphire Reserve and Amex Platinum cards, which for the most part are very similar to each other. The main difference between the two being the lounges that they get you into, like the Chase Sapphire Reserve gets you to the Chase Sapphire lounges, the Amex Platinum gets you to the Centurion lounges, but paying $550 and $695 per year for that benefit alone doesn't make much sense, so there's got to be something else here. Like maybe she really likes the 50% boost that the Chase Sapphire Reserve gives her through the travel portal, or maybe she really likes that the Amex Platinum card gives her broad hotel statuses as well as certain hotel credits and stuff like that. But maybe she could kill 2 birds with 1 stone in this case by getting the Amex Business Platinum card, since that would give her a guaranteed 1.53 cent per point redemption rate for flights through the Amex portal, as well as still cover those benefits that the personal Platinum card does at the same cost. If she didn't want to do that though, I still think that it's reasonable to say that she could kick one of those high annual fee transferable currency cards to the curb. And then the last high annual fee card she has, aside from the Amex Gold that I kind of lumped in here, would be the Hilton Aspire. The Hilton Aspire card is well known for being the best hotel credit card out there, and since she noted that she prefers to stay at Hilton's, it makes a lot of sense for her to have that one. But to reiterate, I don't think she needs that alongside the Chase Sapphire Reserve and Amex Platinum cards. I think we could get that down to 2 pretty easily. If I were in Bianca's shoes, I'd do the following. First, I would strongly consider downgrading or canceling a lot of my annual fee cards. And I would say it's feasible to bring down her total annual fee burden from the $3,200 plus that she's paying right now to under $2,000 with just a few cancellations. But that doesn't mean that the fun is going to end on the application side of things. And I would first target the Chase Inc. trifecta to better manage my 524 status, while possibly sprinkling in the Hawaiian and Alaska cards to continue earning American Airlines miles, which is why I assume she got the personal Alaska card in the first place. To learn more about how you can effectively convert Hawaiian miles and Alaska miles to American Airlines miles, check out this video after watching this one. But what we can all take away from Bianca's audit here is that you should really heavily analyze whether or not you have just too many benefits for the normal credit card user to use. And if you feel like you actually do get good value from all of them, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you think you're wasting a bit, it's time to downsize. So we're off to a hot start here, and I feel like James' setup is a perfect follow-up to Bianca's since it's a bit more palatable at 15 credit cards total. James started getting almost all of his credit cards in 2024, 9 of them to be exact. And luckily, he's been mixing in business card applications with his personal ones, or his 524 status would be super high. He's actually only currently at 424 right now, but if he was to add a personal card, he'd be stuck at 524 until August of 2026, and that's why I'll be focusing on business cards for his recommendations. Based on his submission form, it seems that he has extremely high spend every year, like I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's in large part thanks to his business. He specifically noted that he uses Melio to effectively buy points by using a card on purchases that normally wouldn't take credit cards, and it's pretty funny that I actually had them on as a channel sponsor for that exact reason. And this was after James had submitted his form. So it was just cool to see an audience member already using one of the channel sponsors beforehand. Back to his preferences though, James looks to earn points and miles wherever he can, except for very specific currencies like Amazon and BJ's. He takes 1 to 2 trips per year, but those trips are 6 weeks long, which is pretty unique. And for hotel and airline preferences, he noted that he always flies with Singapore, but he's new to the game, so he's open to suggestions. Just to cover that topic really quickly, I think it'd be feasible for him to expand his reach into Aeroplan, ANA, Cathay Pacific, Qatar, etc. And this obviously depends on exactly where he's flying into Asia, but if Singapore was still the best option, to get those higher cent per point values, he needs to be targeting those business and first class flight redemptions. Since I haven't flown to Asia myself though, I would love for y'all in the comments to help him out and give him some suggestions if you have some tricks up your sleeve, so please feel free to do that. Getting into his audit, with his high spend, going for as many welcome offers as possible is definitely the way to go. But where the wasting of money comes into play is whenever you're adding so many credit cards and you just forget to close some of the older annual fee ones that aren't serving you anymore. Where James's setup differs from the rest of everyday credit card users is that he can basically infinitely apply for welcome offers, and his daily credit card setup really doesn't matter that much. And with that being the case, I'd rather focus on helping him earnestly review his current annual fee cards and maybe suggest some lower or no annual fee alternatives to them, while offering up some ideas for welcome offer hunting cards that he can go for, since he's probably feels like he's running through so many. Out of his 15 card setup, 8 of them have annual fees on them, but none of them are quite as high as Bianca's setup because he's not targeting like the highest tier transferable currency or hotel and airline credit cards. Matter of fact, the highest annual fees that he pays are $395 for the personal and business version of the Venture X cards. And actually, the personal Venture X is his wife's, and I assume he did that because they wouldn't approve him with his high velocity. But regardless, I wouldn't say that the personal Venture X is an immediate cancel by any means, because it is just so easy to get value from for most people. But I really see no reason to keep the Venture X business card open alongside it. I say that because these cards are basically carbon copies of each other, aside from the fact that the Venture X business is a charge card. Assuming all he's using it for is 2x back on his business purchases, I'd opt for using his Chase Unlimited instead, or maybe adding a card like the Amex Blue Business Plus to save $395 per year. Other than the Venture X business, the only other card I would consider an easy cancel would be the Amex Business Gold for similar reasons that I stated with Bianca's setup. Paying $375 per year for that card just isn't worth it when you can get no annual fee options that cover those categories instead, and he already has all the ink cards, which would help him do that just fine. To be fair though, with both the Venture X Business and the Amex Business Gold, when you're somebody with as high of spend as James has, you can much more easily justify keeping them open without even considering the effective annual fee being brought down by the credits and benefits. To take a quick example here, let's say that he's trying to decide between using the Amex Business Gold for 4x back on gas purchases versus his chasing cash for 2x back. From strictly an earning perspective, not taking into account any of the credits on the Amex Business Gold card, if he spends more than $18,750 on that category in a year, the Amex Business Gold card wins. Obviously, the majority of people watching my videos don't spend that much money on that category annually, so the no annual fee option would be better, but I want to make it clear here that for James, everything I just said could go out the window just because of that spend. Moving to the cards that he should consider next, I have the Saver Rewards at the top of the list, and that's one that he'd probably have his wife apply for to complement her Venture X. And if they did that, he could effectively replace his personal Amex Gold card, which I had listed as questionable. And since Capital One has access to Singapore Airlines, just like Amex does, he wouldn't be sacrificing any value there. But like I just mentioned with the Venture X Business and Amex Business Gold, if he's running a ton of spend through this card, it would make sense to just keep it open. That doesn't mean that you watching though, yes, I'm talking to you, Matt, can justify this card in the same way by spending a tenth of what James does. Other than the Saver Rewards, I think a no-brainer option for him to add would be the Amex Blue Business Plus, not only because he would cover that miscellaneous spend if he did end up canceling his Venture X business card, but more importantly, he doesn't have any card in his setup yet that keeps his Amex membership rewards points balance alive if he was to cancel both of the gold cards he has with them. that reason alone is why I consider that card a necessity for anybody applying for Amex business cards already. The Amex Business Platinum and Chase Ink cards are also on this list, and those are mainly just there for the ability to get the welcome offers on them. He just has to remember that if he does want to go through the Ink cards again, which he can because their welcome offer eligibility is so lenient, he would have to keep in mind his 524 status and go for these first before applying for any personal cards. So if you're somebody that wants to have a high velocity of applications like James, first, you're going to want to earn hundreds of thousands of dollars per year in income, or maybe more simply, you want to be applying for business cards alongside your personal cards to keep your personal credit report clean and focus more attention on going for cards for their welcome offers rather than their earning categories, while auditing all of your annual fee cards very scrupulously every year. Next up is my boy Woodsy, and if you've spent any amount of time in the comment section of these credit card YouTube videos, you'll have run into him. He's an awesome dude, and I feel like I've learned a lot about his goals in the credit card game after chatting with him for the last few years, and his setup is super similar to what I think the majority of my audience actually uses, so I think you'll learn a lot from this. Based on his submittal form, he currently has 8 credit cards, 3 of which have an annual fee on them. His 524 status is just 224 since he's kept his velocity down and sprinkled in a couple of business cards in there. He prefers to earn points and miles compared to cashback. He takes 4 to 6 trips per year, mainly domestic. Prefers Hilton hotels, but doesn't have any airline preference. And is avoiding Capital One cards because they bucketed him with an old Quicksilver card back in the day. At first glance, his setup is much more digestible than the last two because he really only focuses on 2 points currencies, Chase Ultimate Rewards and Amex Membership Rewards. This is actually the first setup we've looked at where I have no immediate cancels on the list, and that's because he's done a great job of adding cards that are going to give him long-term value rather than just going for them for the welcome offers, which you can do at some point, but not earlier on in your journey. Across the board, his earning categories are pretty well covered, and the only ones that I don't love are the fact that he has to get his gas and groceries covered by a Hilton card. But considering how much he does value their points currency and what kind of redemption rates he usually gets with them, I think this is completely fine for him to do. And matter of fact, he actually just recently sent me a picture from one of the trips he took with his family at a Hilton property. And to see how happy he's able to make them by using his Hilton points makes me want him to earn as many as possible. I do have a few questionable cards on his list, though, if he wants to decrease his total annual fee burden, and those are the Amex Platinum, Chase Sapphire Reserve, and Hilton Business. To start here, the Hilton Business is one we've already covered in this video, and for most people, I would say that it's just a welcome offer hunting card. But the reason I didn't have it as an immediate cancel here is because there is a possibility that Woodsy really likes using those $240 worth of quarterly resort credits. I just think that most people are better off getting the personal cards instead and saving on that $195 annual fee, which I think Woodsy will do, but also listed as questionable. I also want to mention here, though, that he recently upgraded his Amex Gold card to the Amex Platinum that is on his list. And another perk that some people like with the Hilton Business card is the Hilton Gold status it provides, but now he has that covered with the Platinum. So again, more reason to just get rid of that one. Speaking of the Platinum card, we run into the same situation here that we did with Bianca's setup. So maybe this Amex Platinum and Chase Sapphire Reserve duo is more popular than I initially thought. To avoid repeating myself too much here, I want to reiterate that I just don't think it's fully necessary for people to have both of those cards. Initially, I thought this decision would be easy because Woodsy's home airport is Atlanta, and that's a Delta hub, so he has the Delta Sky Clubs and the Centurion Lounge there. But Amex has recently cracked down so hard on guest access to where you effectively have none anymore. So if he's traveling with his family, then he's going to have to pay for guests to get into those lounges, and maybe that's why he likes the Chase Sapphire Reserve as well. In reality, I think the main reason he did that upgrade from the Gold card to the Platinum was because he got a really solid 125,000 point upgrade offer for the card. But I would not be surprised if after a year he downgrades it back to the Amex Gold card or maybe gets rid of it altogether. Whether he gets rid of the Amex Platinum or Chase Sapphire Reserve, one card that I have on his roadmap that I think is an essential for him at some point to replace one of those would be the Hilton Aspire card. As I mentioned, Hilton is who he prefers to stay with and fits his travel habits perfectly. And if he's been able to get positive value from that Hilton business card that he has, I can't imagine how much value he'd get from the Aspire. However, there is one main reason that he might want to hold off on the Aspire and get another card instead. If he wanted to play it extra safe, he would actually get the Hilton Surpass card before the Aspire, and here's why. I've talked about this recently in a few videos, but in 2024, we saw Amex add family language restrictions to all of their charge cards, all of the Delta cards, their cashback cards, and the different versions of the Amex Platinum cards, while the Marriott Bonvoy cards had that family language added in 2023. And what the family language restrictions means is that if you've been approved for any credit card in the same family as another one you're going for, you may not be eligible for the welcome offer on that new card. So essentially, the only way to get a welcome offer with each card in each Amex family is to work your way up the ladder from the lowest annual fee card to the highest one. And as of right now, the only family without those restrictions is the Hilton Honors lineup, but obviously it's seemingly coming at some point. So again, if he wants to play this the right way effectively and avoid missing out on any welcome offers with the Hilton cards, the next Hilton card he would go for is the Surpass, because he already got the no annual fee Hilton Honors one, and then he would get the Aspire after the Surpass. On the airline side, it seems like he doesn't really need any of those because his work provides most of those flights. But since he's in the Atlanta area, theoretically, I would imagine that at some point the Delta cards are going to fit into his arsenal. But instead of recommending those right now, I think the biggest bang for his buck going forward would be to start applying for the Chase Ink cards. I know I sound like a broken record here, but anytime that really anybody is contemplating what card to get next and they're under 524 like Woodsy is, the Chase Ink cards just make so much sense because of their super high elevated welcome offers without super high annual fees on them. And with Woodsy's case specifically, he has that Chase Sapphire Reserve, and if he decides to keep it open over the Amex Platinum card, he's going to need to earn more Chase points somehow to, maybe use through the portal to book his Delta flights with that 50% boost, or maybe he wants to transfer to international airline partners, you name it. And the Ink cards are just the quickest way to earn those points. As you can tell, I really don't have many critiques at all for Woodsy's setup here. And that's because I feel like he's a great example of how to tailor a credit card setup to fit your specific travel habits and lifestyle. And I'm just excited to continue chatting with him over the years to see how his setup evolves. Now, the next setup from Giovanni is the same as the last three in the sense that money is being wasted, but it's how the money is being wasted that differs. Instead of having too many cards with overlapping benefits and paying for super high annual fee cards, we have a case where a beginner got sucked into some super predatory cards from the start that are still burning a hole in his pocket. Giovanni has 7 total credit cards, and all but one of them are a secured card. Just like James from earlier, almost all of his credit card applications happened in 2024, aside from his first card back in 2014. So he's currently at 624 with 2 cards falling off in April of 2026. He noted that he's been on Team Cashback up until now, but is eventually wanting to get into the travel side of things. He takes at least 2 trips per year domestically, wants to start flying with Delta, but has no hotel preference, and is avoiding lenders like Credit One or Concora Credit thanks to my video about the worst credit cards ever made. And it's great to hear that he's now avoiding those lenders, but the sad part is that he found out about them a little too late. So that is exactly where I want to start this discussion. In the past, y'all have mentioned me say that you never want to close your oldest credit card because that props up your average age of accounts and increases your total credit limit available. But there is one scenario in which I say that you actually do want to cancel that oldest one. And that's when you start with a card like the Milestone Mastercard, which our good friend Giovanni here, unfortunately, did. And on top of me, maybe surprisingly, recommending that he cancel his oldest credit card, which is 10 years older than his second oldest one, I'm actually going to also recommend he cancels that second one too, because it's the Open Sky secured card. And while we're talking about cancellations, throw the Credit One Amex card on the list too. Let me take a deep breath here before I get too worked up. Here is why I am so adamant about him closing these cards despite the negative impact they will have on his credit report. If you close a card in good standing, meaning it was paid off in full, it will continue to age on your report for another 10 years. And by then, your other credit cards will have aged 10 more years to prop up that average age of accounts. And theoretically, you'll be adding more cards in the meantime, so you'll have a lot of cards that are contributing to that number. And further than that, since a card like the Milestone Mastercard is not going to have a super high limit on it, his overall credit utilization shouldn't increase a ton, meaning that his credit score should stay relatively the same. So in a case like Giovanni's here, where he's paying $199 per year to keep a card open that literally gives him no benefits, to me, it's completely fine to cancel that one. Bringing back the other 2 cards I mentioned canceling, the Open Sky secured and the Credit One Amex cards. The full story as to why all 3 of these need to be canceled is all told by the annual fee section of the spreadsheet. As you can see, these 3 cards are costing him $274 per year, with the best benefit from any of them being that he gets a flat 1.5% back on his purchases. With the Milestone card in particular, it hurts me so bad to see that he's paid this company upwards of $2,000 just to, have that card show up on his credit report. And further than that, he's paying another $36 and $39 per year for the Open Sky and the Credit One cards. To me, these companies are just stealing money from Giovanni and anybody else in his situation, and that just infuriates me. And no matter which way you cut it, you should never be paying an annual fee for a credit builder card with all the options we have out there these days. The scummy companies are going to send you a ton of mailers and target you heavily if you have a low credit score, and That's super predatory. That's why I don't like them. So yeah, I guess all of that to say that I would get rid of any annual fee card that isn't giving you any value in return, which Giovanni has 3 of. Aside from those, you may have noticed that I listed the Capital One Platinum secured card as questionable, and that's because it's another secured credit card with practically no benefits. I will say that I'm not super familiar with Capital One's whole bucketing system here, and maybe there is a good reason to keep this one open, but I've just never seen many people successfully product change up the Capital One ladder while having, good credit limit increases and stuff like that. So unless there's some light at the end of the tunnel that I don't know about, again, I just don't see a reason to keep open a secured card that really doesn't have any credit limit on it or anything like that. But that might be more of a later game canceled than something you should do right now since it has no annual fee. So far, I've really only been doom and gloom with this setup, and that's just because those predatory lenders make me so upset. But let's get to some positives here and see how we can optimize the rest of his cards he will have in his arsenal after those cancellations. Well, the answer here probably isn't what anybody in his position wants to hear, but it's the truth. And that is that I would recommend holding off on any credit card applications until your credit score is at the point where you can start applying for unsecured credit cards. This strategy that he's implementing of opening as many secured cards as possible in the quickest time frame is probably doing more harm than good, since what the banks are seeing is that he's in need of a lot of credit access without having any history of making payments on time and in full, at least any substantial amount of history. So instead of adding more of those, the better move for Giovanni would be to just continue using the couple of cards remaining, like the BJ's card or the Amazon card, pay those off on time and in full every single month, wait for his score to rise, and then go for those unsecured beginner credit cards that we talk about all the time here on YouTube, like the Discover It Cashback or the Chase Freedom cards. I know his goal is to eventually get into the travel side of the game, and that is definitely possible, but it will only be possible if he can constantly get approved for unsecured credit cards. And I want to give everybody hope in his position that all of your goals are achievable with a long enough time horizon. Just keep increasing your knowledge of the credit card game by watching videos like this. Don't get stuck into any FOMO, that's for sure. And be patient as you continue putting that knowledge to work. And trust me, it's going to pay off. Throughout this video, I've talked a lot about canceling credit cards without really telling you exactly what's going to happen if you do decide to do so. So to learn more about that topic in depth, click into this video next. As always, Odin and I both want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, and we'll catch you guys next time.